Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine Podcast Radio. You're about to listen to an episode of Through the TechVine. So be quiet, pay attention, and get inspired. There is one truth that is not told enough. Technology is not magic, but it can be magical. Technology is human. It is part of who we are, our evolution, our future. Will it be a dystopian or utopian one? Well, that is up to us and nobody else. Knowledge is power, now more than ever. Blue Lava is the first business platform for CISOs to manage their security program. Blue Lava guides security leaders to effectively measure, optimize, and communicate their security program with confidence and ease in one platform. Learn more at bluelava.net.
And here we are,
Look
late,
at that.
properly late.
We're right on time.
Little late.
You know, when I used to live in Italy, I used to say 15 minutes late is not really late. It's just fashionably late. So I feel like, it's 10 minutes. I don't think anybody was waiting for us. And if you were, sorry, now we are here.
Time is relative.
Fashionably late or late with your fashion, Marco. I don't know.
Lifetime doubly so.
But the most important thing is that we have a guest.
We have a friend.
Yay!
That one friend that we have to beg to come on the show every time. And this one is someone that we had a podcast a while back. We've known him for a while, and most of all, there is one of us, Diana, that know him quite well. So we're gonna leave the honor to you to introduce the cannoli.
All right. It's way too much to pack in, but Adam is just one of the absolute visionaries within security. He has been practicing for decades. He led a lot of advances at Microsoft and Threat. He created something called the Elevation of Privilege game. It was a card game to teach people about how to understand threat and what can go wrong. And he also literally wrote the book on threat modeling, which Bruce Schneier called the best or the most important, or maybe both, the best and most important security book of the year that it was published. And he's now got his own company, Shostack Associates, where he goes around helping organizations keep the world better and safer for all of us. So just an amazing, amazing person.
No pressure, Adam.
As Diana said, I've been practicing for decades, and one of these days I'll get it right.
Practice.
Right, all of us, yeah. We keep trying.
But thank you. Thank you.
That's I think that's our motto with the show, right? Where you just keep practicing. Who knows what we're doing here.
we don't know. I proudly say all the time that there is no script, no editing, and to be honest, sometimes I don't even have a news, and that's the core of the of the show, to bring a tech news. And I'm like, I read a lot of stuff this
Your
week.
idea.
I'll just pull out.
You said everybody has to bring news, and then you never bring the news.
Yeah, and if
I
you
always
notice,
stress out about it.
Sean, if you notice, I'm always the last one. So sometimes there's like 5 minutes left, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Running out the clock.
Well, this is actually episode, I believe, number 28, but who is counting anymore? Sean, are you counting?
You said you were counting, so I left that to you.
I did, but I only have 10 fingers, and I kind of lost it.
28, you ran out of fingers.
Yeah. Adam, what have you been up to? We haven't talked in a long time, so what's up lately?
Yeah.
Let's see. So many things. The thing I want to talk about, I'll get to, but I've been working with the Belfer Center at Harvard, Tara Wheeler and Rob Kanaki. We released a report on learning lessons from aviation and cybersecurity. I'm really excited about that. And that's at tinyurl.com/cyberntsb. I've been teaching lots and lots of classes, lots of exciting stuff on the training front. But the thing that's really exciting to me, the thing I wanted to share with you today, sorry, I'm being all formal. I've done some more formal podcasts. Yeah, let me tell you what I'm excited about here. So what I'm excited about is the new white paper, which is titled Fast, Cheap, and Good. Because that's how we should all engineer stuff, is fast, cheap, and good, right?
It's impossible, Adam.
Isn't the iron triangle? Yeah.
The iron
I hate
triangle. Ooh.
Yeah.
How do we do that and make it work?
Well, we can't. We just heard it's an ironclad rule, and so thank you all for tuning in today. It was great to be here.
I think
Just give up.
that awkward pause right there was because we were all thinking, how we gonna make that work?
So here's the thing. A lot of people go through this thing as they start to learn about threat modeling. They do a little bit of it, they get successful, and then they create this process, and it's really heavyweight, it's painful. And so their pilot projects go really well, and then they start rolling it out, and it's just awful. And actually, I want to pause. Have any of you tried to threat model and tried to bring other people in and just gotten the response, this is too heavyweight?
Yes, I have. I've had expletives thrown at me.
Yeah. So what's going on? And this is really the starting point for me, because when I sit down and threat model, we can get useful stuff done in 20 minutes. And sometimes the first one only takes 20 minutes because
that's after days of planning, right, Adam?
Sorry, I missed that.
It's after days of planning, days and weeks of planning before you get the value out of the 20 minutes.
No. It's
Not when Adam does
down.
I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Is a lot of companies they worry about it so much, and they figure they need a big, huge thing, program, project, plan to actually make some progress on something, right?
Yeah, totally. People feel this way. And so the whole point of the white paper is to say, why does that happen? What are the effects of it? And what do we do about it?
You know, Adam, if I remember well, our conversation when we had the podcast on threat modeling was kind of reflecting on the application of our everyday thinking about threat modeling, how we all do threat modeling just to go through life. So maybe for our audience that is maybe, not well versed into the threat modeling in cybersecurity, I'll be interested to dedicate a couple of minutes to that approach that probably connect with the fact that maybe it is easier than what we may think about it. Isn't like, I remember we mentioned common sense at the time, if I am not wrong. How can you break it down in few words for the everyday use of threat modeling?
I love coming on this show. You have the best questions. So I start with, speaking of questions, I start with 4. What are we working on? What can go wrong? What are we going to do about it? Did we do a good job? You ask those questions, and you can go from there. And like we talked about, it can be common sense, and it can be this, bring me a diagram, and we need to train you on stride, and after you've done your stride, you're going to do a fair risk management approach. And it's like there's so much stuff to learn that we forget about the 4 questions, and we forget about the fast and cheap.
And we scare people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what happens, and this is how we break the iron triangle, what happens is everyone wants to compare threat modeling methods to like fault trees or formal methods or these huge complex things. And they say, oh, well, it's not good unless you've done stride per element. Don't get me wrong, I think stride per element is a lovely approach. But if that's your bar, if that's your min bar, that's heavy.
Yep.
You know, it reminds me of when I was in college, I had a philosophy professor who told us that we could just get on tests as long as we were within, I think it was a 20 or 30-year range of when some of these great philosophizers were born and philosophizing. That was okay. He didn't want us to get the exact month and year they were born, just as long as we knew the general era that they were working in, because that gave us a good framework. That was much better than not having any clue, about where it was. And it's the same thing, don't let perfect stand in the way of very good.
So you don't know Rene Descartes' birthday? How do you celebrate?
Well,
it's their job.
I don't know, the whole vivisection thing. It's a little tough for me.
We have a random comment here. I'm going to show it. I'm proud of you for saving bandwidth one of our watchers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was actually replying.
We're saving the planet.
We're saving energy.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's a precious resource.
Also, we didn't shower. That's why.
And when you want to save energy, speaking of saving energy, how do you do the minimal work and get the most value out of it?
Yeah.
Right? What is, if you will, the threat model equivalent of switching from 150 watt halogen bulbs to 7 watt LEDs? Both are going to light the room for you.
Maybe it's the thinking about it too much. Just do it.
There you go.
Right? Maybe you don't need to run all those calculations.
I know the answer, Adam. The answer to why it's not happening anyway.
Go ahead.
Well, that light works, and why bother replacing it?
I thought you were going to say my book is too long.
No, not the book.
Why did you need hundreds of pages to explain this?
But the other quote that always comes to that is, "We've always done it this way," right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's probably a lot of that in this show, Marco, where our goal here is to look at technologies that kind of mix it up a bit, that break the norms, break those traditions, break the molds, break the barriers.
I think if there is something that must be said about your quote, and that is, we've always done it this way, or it's working, why to change it? You don't change the team that is winning, and that kind of stuff, which I may agree with that one. But change in general, change is what drive us to innovate. And if we were happy with life, as it was years and years ago, which may have been quite the case, then we wouldn't innovate anything. And we need to be accepting that. And Sean, we just had a very good conversation yesterday about, cloud security. And I don't want to go too technical here, but the whole point was you can just sit on something and assuming that I've learned everything that there is to learn and I got it all figured out and I don't need to change anything, because at that point you become obsolete, and you got no control over what's happening.
Stagnate.
Yep, that's what it is. And that's why we bring news here, and maybe innovation, maybe that we don't like. Maybe it may be something dangerous. We're always looking at things from different perspective. And
we always look at it from technology. And I'm going to go back to your point, Marco, on if the team is winning, don't change anything. And I've seen some shows, some sports things where they're actually monitoring the participants, the athletes, to see how are they breathing hard, are they sweating too much, those types of things. Because if you can win but also keep the athlete healthier, keep them healthy or make them healthier and not overburden them. They might last longer through the season. They might not injure themselves. They might not make a stupid move that costs them a game or the championship at the end. So yes, there may be technology and monitoring and data analysis and things like that, which we can touch on, but it's looking at a problem differently and saying just because we're winning doesn't mean we have to change our team. There may be things you can do to make the team better. And
well, there is another issue if you want to look at the sport analogy, which also you can bring in innovation in industry, is the fact that when you compete, if the other team understand that you're not changing anything, then you become predictable, and then you're gonna slam on the wall, and you always need to kind of keep moving and mixing things up. I think that's part of being successful in the end.
Yeah.
So what about the flip side? What about the who moved my cheese and there's enough
there's
enough change in the world. Hello, Omicron. People don't want any more change.
Yeah, there's actually a comment from one of our listeners saying repeatable equals testable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of falls into that, right? If you know what it's supposed to do and it does that every time and it's not doing it a different time, you kind of know something's wrong.
True, but can you improve?
No.
Never. No improvement.
Stuck in time.
Well, this is why I go with the fourth question, which is, did we do a good job? Is that we do need to reflect. And I had a discussion once with someone, and he said, a good, healthy, agile team is always doing retrospectives anyway. Why do we need to include them in threat modeling? And I think I was more polite than this, but what was going on in my head was there were a lot of adjectives before the word team. You know, it was a good, healthy team. And it's like, yeah, maybe that's not the case. And because this stuff is new, because threat modeling is something that not everyone is doing, we need them to have a chance to reflect specifically. Did that work well for me? Was it too heavyweight? Was my head just spinning? And you know, when we go back to the reader's comment about repeatable and testable, the listener's comment, excuse me. When I teach big threat modeling courses for companies, I collect homework and I look at it, and I can tell you, I'm sorry, I shouldn't look at the homework. You should eat it. You're right.
My dog will eat it.
The dog will eat the homework. But I can tell you there's a good degree of overlap, and we can build to that using these structures. And the thing that happens is that because people have all of these aspirations that they pile into the threat modeling work, it never gets started because there's a mountain in front of us, and so we can't take the first step.
Yeah, I would not wait upon, I will. But I think one of the things with threat modeling that's so nice that I don't know if orgs understand is that, yes, it doesn't have to be perfect to have impact, to have positive impact. And sometimes just the awareness is one of the best aspects of it, because it's not uncommon to hear we're not vulnerable there, or this is just an informational whatever website or mobile app, or and just having that just, it's like with a tabletop and incident response, where people start to see, oh my gosh, this team can't answer that question the way I thought they could, or it's going to take a lot longer to respond. With threat modeling, you say something like, well, it's just an informational website. Well, let's actually think about what damage could occur, what impact could go from negative activity. And suddenly their eyes open and they go, oh, this is actually, I need to take this seriously. And that in itself is actually a really big win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of have to change your perspective on things and always question yourself. And that's why 4 questions are good.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have a question, Sean? I have a question about birds.
Do you have a question about birds? I'm going to make a quick comment though, because Adam mentioned mountain, and maybe this is where the connection to birds aren't real. That mountain may not be real, or to your point, Marco, it's about perspective. Because where are you in relation to that mountain that you're seeing? Are you out in the desert looking at a mountain 100 miles away? You see just the very tips of it, or are you in the foothills? And even if you start to make the trek, you're still only climbing up the foothills. Mm-hmm. Or are you in the mountains, or are you up at a rock's edge cliff that you have to climb up? So I think the perspective matters there, and what's real is real for your organization, and try not to make too much of it.
Well, so that's why I want to know why birds aren't real.
I know.
Yep. Okay.
I've been reading that thing for like the past 15 minutes. I mean, not that I wasn't not interested in that, but I've seen birds this morning in the garden. So
not real ones.
How are you going to prove me wrong?
No, they're not real. Yeah. Okay.
Prove me wrong. Challenge accepted.
All right. So my so it's a twofer. We're going to get to the birds, but it started out with, I saw a headline that NASA had awarded a contract for something called Rotorcraft Vertical Lift Technology Services. And I was like, what? What's rotorcraft? Now, you guys might know that already, but I didn't know what a rotorcraft vertical lift technology was. So I did a little bit of digging. I found out that both the military and NASA are interested in this tech. And rotorcraft, the most common rotorcraft that we all know, is a helicopter. Mm-hmm. And helicopters are useful for military and other implementations because they can go places planes can't, because they can go up and down, lift up straight up and down into the air, and planes need runways for takeoff and landing. Rotorcraft can also hover like hummingbirds for long periods of time. And this investment is part of work that's related to, there's a Vertical Lift Research Center of Excellence, and they're thinking forward about what can be done with unmanned aerial vehicles like sophisticated drones and urban air mobility, which would be automated air vehicles that could carry either cargo or passengers. So if you think about like a driverless train or a subway, but it would be in the air. So potentially some weekend, Sean could be taking the air jitney out to Long Island on a summer weekend or something like that. Right. So yeah, I thought you'd like that. So that was the tech, and I went in and there's some interesting research. If people are interested in drones, I got the links. But as I was going down the drone path, I intersected with this bizarre conspiracy theory called birds aren't real. And the premise is that birds aren't real. Surprise. The government, they're actually government-controlled drones that are being used to spy on citizens. And the interesting thing about this movement is it was started in...
Every
bird.
Okay.
Every bird. But wait, it was started in 2017 by this kid named Peter McIndoe. He's now 23, but he started it when he was in college. And he was at a women's rally in Memphis. And there were a bunch of people rallying. It got really sort of aggressive and people screaming at each other. As you can imagine, it's 2017. We had just sworn in a new president. People had some pretty divisive thoughts about that president. And he was standing there in the middle of this rally and he just started going, birds aren't real. He just started like saying birds aren't real and chanting birds aren't real, which is such a strangely catchy and weird thing that people started chanting it too. And he started to kind of cosplay as the chief believer spreading the birds aren't real dogma about them being drones. Most of the members of the Bird Brigade, because if you want to be part of the birds aren't real movement, most of the members of the Bird Brigade, they're mostly Zoomers. And they're kind of now going down a different path with technology. It's not about drones, but it's looking at how social media influences people and disinformation and how bizarre fake conspiracy theories start to spread and what can be done with them. So he's got a whole viral, it's almost performance art of videos where he'll set up and go into a Walmart parking lot and start to try and convert others to his Bird Brigade and have these long conversations with them about the fact that birds aren't real and that they're just they're drone clouds. You'll talk about these giant pigeon clouds that follow him because the government is after him because he's exposing the birds not being real. Conspiracy. They show up at protests sometimes, and if they see things getting violent or out of hands, they'll start to chant "birds aren't real" to get everybody chanting "birds aren't real" and stop arguing with each other. And it just seemed like a kind of really interesting way to take a different technology so it's not about bird drone technology. It's really about the power of technology to spread misinformation. And he's trying to use the bird brigade to hold a mirror up to America in the internet age. So
I'm sorry. I see this more of a psychological than a technological thing. It's kind of like the magician that make you look somewhere, distract you, and plays the trick, right?
The
so
prestige.
It's kind of like, yeah. And also, I was thinking, the movie app where you got the dogs, and when they say squirrel, everybody get distracted. So it sounds like this person has just made up some kind of news and use it whenever he wants.
Birds might not be real, Marco.
Well, now I'm questioning. That and then
stand on power lines.
So
there's all this stuff about don't touch the downed power line after a storm, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
If the birds did not have special government chips in them so that they didn't get the electricity, they'd be fried birds every time they land.
That's it. That's
a special chip.
Nothing to do with touching the ground, right?
Nothing. There's a spark of inspiration there, though.
There is.
But I also thought it was cool that we are doing more. The government is putting more research into not bird drones, but also into
good use of our money.
The rotorcraft, yeah.
Taxes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Flying taxis. I could go for flying subways, flying taxis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are eventually going to be real.
They are, unlike birds.
Those will be real, but the birds won't be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what is crazy is I wonder sometimes as people join this some sort of pseudo movement or beliefs just to, I don't know, just to have something to do, just to take a side, even if they must know that this is BS. No?
No, if you watch some of the videos, he's actually got some people in these parking lots that really engage in the birds not being real conversation. And some are, I think, willing to, maybe they don't believe all birds are fake, but I think that they're pretty open to believing that a number of birds are in fact government surveillance drones.
Can I get a PhD on a parking lot too?
Sure.
You can. You absolutely can. There's plenty of fake doctors out there.
Yeah.
Diploma mills, mail order degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's
a fake version of it, right?
So the question here is, with all the technology that we have now, all the fake news, and we know that is a problem, of course, we talk about that all the time. It's hard to believe that we just can't make people accept reality. One thing is you live isolated, away from technology, but in this age of information, I mean, if you decide to stay ignorant and to believe to some crazy stuff, it's a choice. I just cannot justify the fact that we just decide to ignore the fact and just believe in whatever we want. But that's me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand how much money the big technology platforms are spending, and I'm going to use a controversial word here, but they're spending on manipulating us.
Mm.
Right? I mean, you look at say Twitter. Twitter forces us to oversimplify things down into 180 characters or post a GIF of a bigger thing of text. I mean, you can't see me, but I'm shaking my head and my hands. But this is literally crazy that we take our text, we convert it into a picture of that text, and we post that And what Twitter is doing is it's forcing us to oversimplify so we annoy one another so that people engage in angry responses, and then they're engaged and they comment on one another and they do all of these things, which keep them coming back to Twitter to watch for the likes, to watch for the retweets, to watch for things to argue with. And Twitter is doing all of this to sell us ads. And the same, it's not just Twitter. It's all of the social media companies that engage in these manipulations where they're trying to keep us on their platform and to keep us engaged with what they're saying. And so they design their interfaces so that it is all there is, right? You take a Twitter thread. It's mind-boggling how much screen real estate the words in a Twitter thread take up. You know why that is? It's because there's a psychological principle. If you've read Dan Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, he talks about what you see is all there is. Yeah. Twitter and Facebook manipulate their user interface so everything is a narrow scrolling column in the middle, however wide you make your screen. So that is all you are seeing.
Yeah. And it, sorry.
No, go ahead. There's my rant for a moment.
Well, I mean, exactly. And if you see it, your brain starts to believe it. And if you see it enough, it starts to get embedded in something like birds aren't real is kind of brilliant in its way, because nobody would think that that was true. But if you look at it enough and you saw enough thread and discussion about it in your little narrow view, your brain is going to start thinking, well, maybe birds aren't real.
Which interesting, Diana, because the other thing that comes to mind for this, sorry, Adam, do you want to say something else? Or?
No, go ahead.
I'm wondering if so manipulating is one word. I'm just wondering if it's less sinister. I mean, some of the social media companies, clearly they are, and some people using the platforms clearly are. But I'm wondering if humans are gullible, we don't know enough about technology, and therefore and I'm not putting the onus back on us individuals, but we allow ourselves to be led astray because we don't understand and we don't take the time to learn how technology works, or it's all magic and anything is possible. So all conspiracy theories ever will be right and possible because it's technically possible.
I don't want to use the word sinister.
But I'll use it anyway.
All right.
No, but
don't
I will say it's intentional. These companies have teams which are titled engagement. And they know that there's only 24 hours in a day. And if you're not on their site, you're on someone else's. And the goal of the engagement team is to keep you coming back. And we've seen in some of the releases, some of the leaks out of Facebook, that they know that these things are harmful, right? There was a set of headlines about Instagram being aware that they were psychologically damaging teenage girls. And so, this is all stuff that is happening, and I think there's a competition, and the people who are engaged in that competition are not necessarily doing it to harm people. They're doing it because they conceive of their job in some other way. And that brings me to the question of how, if I can loop back to this idea of lightweight threat modeling, how can we get people to ask simple questions that get them thinking about this? Not necessarily to the point where they're going to go against what their job is, but just so that they know that these things are possible. And do you mind if I bring us back there for a few minutes?
Go for it.
And I'm
Cool.
back, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was I feel passionately about these other things, but I also feel that these fast, cheap, good ways of doing things, of asking what can go wrong, can be as simple as asking what can go wrong. So if we go back a little bit to rotary aircraft, we can say, if Sean is going to be taking a rotary aircraft to Long Island, what can go wrong? Go.
Right. Oh, well, one of these unreal
me
birds.
go and I'll figure it out. Hopefully it makes it there.
Yeah. Hopefully it makes it there. Okay. Why wouldn't it make it there?
An unreal bird ran into the rotocraft.
Well, if I can, I'm going to grab the mic and I'm going to take what you're talking about here, Adam, and I'm going to bring it to my tech news, because what you just presented is one way of looking at it. We're about to create something that does something for the benefit of X, Y, and Z. What could slow us down in achieving that? Stop us from achieving it? Not do it as effectively or efficiently as achieving it? But there's another alternative, which is what's the side effect of achieving it, or perhaps achieving it in different ways. And my news comes, I often look for news around energy and powering stuff, because I think everything we talk about, technology, is going to have to be powered in some fashion. And how are we creating it, storing it, delivering it, distributing it, consuming it in a safe, sustainable way? And so my story, I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty. It's a pretty long article on BBC, and it's driven by Japan introducing a new car that's net zero electric car. So
I like it.
For zero emissions electric car. So not just the car itself, but everything surrounding it. The idea is that it won't produce emissions. So it doesn't have a huge battery. Instead, it has a fuel cell, and the fuel cell's partnered with a hydrogen tank, and the hydrogen is combined with oxygen to form water, and that releases the energy to create the electricity, which powers the cell and then fuels the motor and all that stuff. So where you see my name is the green or blue is the new green. There's a concept of green hydrogen, which is capturing water and turning it into hydrogen. But then there's this concept of blue hydrogen, where they're taking the water vapors coming off of something else that's being burnt or boiled or whatever, and capturing that and turning it into hydrogen. That's what Toyota is trying to do here. And there's a lot of conversation around it. Is this a good thing? Because they're actually burning coal to create the hydrogen, capturing the hydrogen, and then storing it underground to make it blue hydrogen. So it's an interesting point, because we're using technologies that, coal in this case, to create this hydrogen that we often think of as a bad thing, but it's bad because of the emissions it puts off, and what they're doing is capturing emissions and repurposing it. So interesting concept, and I don't know, we can get deeper into it if you want, but it's a question of, to your Adam's point, what could go wrong in this? There's probably a lot in that, but what are some of the side effects? And yes, that car and that method of power for that vehicle might be sustainable, but is it the right thing to do, to continue mining and burning coal, even if it's cleaner than what it is in a fuel or gas driven vehicle? So anyway, I'll pause there.
Even before we get to the side effects, when I think about tanks full of hydrogen, I think about the Hindenburg effect.
Up in flame.
This
down in flames. Yeah.
This stuff is high
autonomously,
energy.
though. It'll be autonomous in flames.
This stuff is very high energy, and if we're going to have tanks full of hydrogen somewhere that someone, one of the things I've read, I'm not sure if this particular proposal includes it, is that we replace gas stations with hydrogen gas stations, and we've spent 100 years figuring out how to make it safe for people to do all the dumb things they do at gas stations, like smoke. And I saw
I do that all the time. I smoke at a lot of gas stations.
What?
Everyone at the
well, he's filling his tank.
Yeah. And so the question of what can go wrong, I think this, yes, thinking about the side effects, I think is one of the things that we learn to do as we become more mature as technologists. We realize that these things are not side effect free.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it's just hard to get a person building the technology to think about what can go wrong with what they're building. I'm going to, do a directory lookup to see where my logs should go. That seems like a good idea, right?
I mean, that's a really good point, because I think one of the side effects of one of the byproducts of creating blue hydrogen is increased methane.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that there's a good, so I think it appears better at first, but then methane, as we know, is a big issue with global warming. It kind of makes me think, if anybody ever saw The Good Place, the TV show The Good Place, where it turns out everybody's just going to the bad place. And at first they think that it's the folks that run the bad place that are doing it, the demons. But it's just that it's impossible to live in the modern world without having so many unintended repercussions from our choices, that ultimately we're all hurting the environment and hurting each other without knowing it. And they use this example of someone who's buying flowers for their grandmother, but the energy costs of getting those flowers transported to the grandmother are so bad that it's a ding against them rather than it was a good, the person's like, but they were organic flowers. So I think like looking at things like at hydrogen, it's like, well, in this case with blue hydrogen, I think some scientists have concerns that there's methane as a byproduct, and methane is harmful to the environment. And then you say, well, what if we were capturing solar power? Well, the creation of the solar panels become an issue. And, the issue with electric cars is the rare metals that we need for the batteries. Then how do we dispose of the batteries when we're done? So it starts to feel, sometimes it can feel very so interconnected, and sometimes a little overwhelming with, well, what can we do? How do we get this right? And I think that the threat modeling question is very pertinent here, because instead of looking at something atomically, we look at it in context of the entire system and say, this looks good atomically, but it's not great in context. So we got to keep looking for something that's going to be not just good for a short period or in this use case, but as we think of it in use of the whole system, i.e. the planet.
Yeah, Mark and I have been digging in a bit to some of the ESG. I don't know if it's a movement or a model or what it is, but it's basically environmental, societal, and governance, where the challenge now or today, and certainly well into the future, is it's not just you analyzing the decisions you've made. Society is doing that for you as well. They're looking at how you make a decision and how it impacts them. Great. Flowers are beautiful, organic flowers. Did they need to be organic and cost 10 times as much for flowers? I don't know. I'd probably prefer organic flowers if I ever receive it. But does that cost money that should have been spent elsewhere? Could have been spent. There's a lot of different things to look at. But my point is, it's not just our businesses or ourselves or our families, whatever our units are that we're looking at, analyzing and judging us for the decisions we make. It's everybody else looking at us. And that kind of goes back to your point on the social media stuff too, where this is all public and people have a comment and people will judge.
Can I be dark?
Of course.
Probably.
That's your role. That's your role, Marco.
Well, this is the thing. I love like the fact that we're talking about threat modeling, that we're talking about, whatever we do, there is always the negative aspect to it.
A consequence.
Yeah, there's consequence. I mean, you don't build anything from nothing. Anything that you do, it's come from something else and turn into something else. So that's the universe, how it works. And I'm thinking like maybe we're just trying to reach that net zero perfection, which will be great. But we are the threat. Like being human alone, living is the threat itself, because we do things that require energy. So we kill the animal to eat, or we cultivate, and we need stuff for moving, and so we create energy and cars and one thing and another. And of course, now we're realizing we went too far. And the reason why I'm saying this is because exactly, Sean, based on what you said, is this story about the direct air capture, like when you're trying to turn carbon dioxide, and we talked about this many times, into encapsulating, bring it under the ground and take it out of the atmosphere. And some people say, well, that takes a lot of energy too.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a paradox, right?
Japan is planning to pump all this underground in the ocean. So what the heck is that going to do?
Well, how are you going to pump that down there, right? You're going to need energy to do that. So now what is happening, for example, is that there are several technology that can do this. And one that oil company actually love is the fact that instead of cutting the consumption of oil and burning stuff, they say, well, let's just keep burning everything and let's just keep something to recycle that, so that we return these into energy again, which is exactly what you were saying. And they love that because they're not losing their business. It's kind of like when the cigarette company turned it into selling the gum to make use the nicotine gum. Still making money from the problem, you know what I mean? So I'm like, and I kind of connecting that. That's why I'm being dark. Is I'm connecting that with the social media being captured into the system of, become the one that watch the advertisement. So in order to watch advertisement, we need to stick to the social media, which is the same thing we have done with advertising in the radio. We've done it in the magazine. I mean, in the television, a lot of times it's like, well, we're just giving people what they want. And if they want dumb stuff, we give them dumb stuff. So maybe we are
bring on the dumb stuff.
We are the threat.
So I got us dark, and let me try and take us a little bit away from dark if I can.
Please turn on the light.
I'm going to mention another book, which is The Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker.
Yeah.
In which he catalogs an awful lot of ways in which the world is getting a lot better. From lifespan to literacy to human rights for women, for people of color, to people who have different sexualities. All of this is, the world is getting better. There are fewer and fewer people who lose a kid before the age of 1 or before the age of 5. Lifespans have shot up dramatically. And it's easy, and I fell into this trap myself, to just focus on the negative, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not all bad. I do think there are some energy systems which release less carbon than others. And we can work with these, and we can say, okay, yes, there's this side effect, there's that side effect, and we can quantify it. There's a limit to that, right? At the end of the day, maybe it is all interconnected, but we don't have. Maybe we do, because we're all just cynical people, but we don't have to be negative all the time.
Here, I'm going to drag us right back. Do we really need to live longer?
Yeah, I got stuff to do.
Feel free to change us.
I got things to do.
This one I think is really if you unpack the numbers, the main reason that our lifespans are getting quote unquote longer is that we're not dying younger. So human beings still are dying somewhere in the 80 to 90 range on average. It's just that we expand it out to seem longer because we're not dying younger. So you've got a much better shot of living to 80 or 90, but the whole, are you going to live to 120 in a few decades? Probably not. But we have a much better shot of getting to that 80 or 90 than people did in the past, because they died before they were one. The childhood diseases, heart attacks would take people in the 40s and 50s, and a lot of people can live through it. But still, we still kind of on average,
Okay. Yes. So let me restate from people are living longer to on average, we're dying later, but the extreme is not moving, right? Most people don't make it to 90. And in 10 or 20 years, they probably still won't make it to 90.
Yeah. Did we get dark again?
But
No. This is important.
Kids,
I love what you're saying.
I'm the big anchor dragging us down.
I love what we're saying. And let me
ocean bottom floor.
Well, I tend to, when I go dark, if you haven't figured it out, I just want to be provocative and provoke a reaction. And what Adam said, it's just perfect. Like, we say that about technology a lot. I think in the news, everything is bad, right? And how many things are great for technology. So I think it's a matter of the quality also. Like you can't judge how good technology or where we are now is from how long we live. We should judge it from the perspective of how well we live.
Yeah. Yep. And to Adam's point about Pinker's book about, if you look at it, society isn't necessarily getting worse. We don't focus on how it's getting better. There's a recent book, David Graeber's book on the dawn of everything, talking about how we've in some ways gotten entrenched into thinking that income inequality and civil inequality is something that humans just drift towards. But there are a lot of actual points that we don't always look at in the historical record of communities and human beings working much more towards equality and not inequality, which is another thing that, sometimes it's where, energy goes, where attention flows or something, but, like focusing on these positives get us to a better place.
And Adam, I'm going to go super hyper positive here, and I'm hoping you can join me. A lot of organizations, I'm taking it back to threat modeling. When organizations think of all the stuff that could go wrong or all the side effects that they could create, it can be depressing and overwhelming. But talk to me about the freedom that you see people and companies experience having gone through an exercise where they actually have some visibility and an understanding to confidently move forward with their plans.
So thank you. It's a great point. And one of the things that can make security depressing is that it seems to be a never-ending thing. right? How do I figure out if I've done enough when these clever folks can introduce attack after attack after attack? And I think a big part of the answer that I'm coming to is, yeah, there are these really clever attacks and we notice them. But what we don't notice is that there's a lot of similarity between most of the attacks. And so we don't need to be the fellow who comes up with the way to turn the compression engine inside of the fax machine into a Turing complete system and use it to bypass mitigations. Most attacks are simpler. And if we know a little bit about security and a good deal about our systems, then we can actually make a good deal of progress. And so to really answer your question about it seems really depressing to learn all of this stuff, but you get some freedom. If we have some way to be systematic about the security analysis that we're doing, then we can do that thing and we can say, wow, we're way better off for that 1 hour, 1 day, 2 day investment than we would have been without it. Are we perfect? No. Are there side effects?
Speak for yourself.
Sure. Go ahead.
I was saying, speak for yourself. When we say
that's such a fantastic way to think about it, Adam.
Thank you.
It's just so spot on.
And and I'm going to do what I did before. Is all these, when you do this thinking about a specific area, especially again with threat modeling, I mean, what we have learned here, we can easily apply it to our everyday life. And maybe we can go back to, as we're closing here, to talk about the way that we consume energy, what we can all do, that little thing. Don't be, you can't just think you're going to change the world by yourself, but if you keep it simple, we can all do something about it. If, the birds aren't real, maybe we need a little bit of logic and ask the right question, as Adam said, to be like, do I really want to believe this crap or not, right? And really make the right decision every day. And you know what? The other thing is maybe what's right for me is not right for you, but I think logic is logic for everyone. And,
I think the perspective thing, we talked about the mountain, but as I'm looking at my avatar with the mallard duck, I didn't realize the connection, but the head is green on that mallard duck.
Yeah.
If it turns just the right way, it could be blue.
It's blue.
Right.
Yeah.
So perspective.
It's definitely blue.
The duck
what are you talking
in
about?
The sun. It's definitely blue. Yeah.
And I have to say,
perspectives matters. Right?
If birds aren't real, I don't think my cats are real either, because my cats are very convinced the birds around the house are real.
Talk about going dark.
That's just their programming.
No.
They need better programming.
Yeah, you got to reprogram your cats because we know that they're not real either. So,
come on,
Adam, we got 1 minute to go. We're gonna leave it to you. We know you have something going on that you want to share with the audience, so please do that.
Well, thanks. So, really enjoyed the conversation, and I just want to mention that a lot of these ideas that are in my head right now are in this white paper that just released, Fast, Cheap, and Good, an unusual trade-off in threat modeling. It talks about these fast, cheap methods that we can use. It compares them. It gives you a little catalog, and it is free. You don't even have to give me a fake email address. You can go to showstack.org/white papers.
Nice. And we'll include a link to that in the show notes, I believe, Marco.
Download it.
Yes.
I was already thinking a funny email to give you. But now iTunes does, iCloud does that for me. So I don't even need to. I don't even need to come up with an email.
It's sort of amazing. The the number of people who just make it hard for you to say, no, I don't want a salesperson to call. I'm not in your target market. I don't have budget. Don't bug me. I'd like to see what you had to say. And I'm doing this because I actually do think we can do better, right? Mm-hmm. I am cynical. I can be dark and depressing at times, but I also think we can do a lot better at how we engineer our systems. And that we've only been doing this cybersecurity thing for about 40 years. We're still at the ultimate beginning of it, and we have so much to learn and so much room to do better. I'm really excited to be where we are in the evolution of the field.
Yeah. And that's why we have our conversation too. I mean, we have fun, we go dark, we go utopia, dystopia, but in the end, I think we all believe that we can do better.
Yep. I think you summarized it well. We have an opportunity to do better with our systems. I'm going to say we have an opportunity to do better with our society. We can engineer our society for the world we want. Sounds very much like another channel we've watched, Mark.
The dawn of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, loads of resources. I know somebody else watching mentioned another book, so I flashed that up on the screen. Folks can catch this episode on Through the TechVine on ITSP Magazine. We're live every week, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, and we might have a different guest that next week. Very thankful for Adam joining us, Adam Shostack, for joining us for today's episode. Great conversation, certainly made me think, and I think we're going to say peace out and see you all next week.
Yep.
Peace.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Adam.
Blue Lava is the first business platform for CISOs to manage their security program. Blue Lava guides security leaders to effectively measure, optimize, and communicate their security program with confidence and ease in one platform. Learn more at bluelava.net. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Through the TechVine podcast. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.